shadow of a doubt, the mother, Shaykh Abdullah al-Qar'awi, Nusrah Bint Ali al-Qar'awiyyah, was a noble woman. She was a woman of great honor. She was a diligent student of knowledge herself, as is well known from her biography. And as you see in the work, it was important to also, as we mentioned, any person from his history, from his life, from his family. It was important to give a short biography of them as well, because this helps give context. It helps us better understand who Sheikh Abdullah al-Qar'awi was based on the people he came in contact with, and in this case, the people who reared him. And so his mother was a religious woman, a woman of honor. She was a woman of diligence as it relates to seeking knowledge, reciting Quran. She would go and sit in the lessons of the mashayikh uh, between Maghrib and Isha and study and learn. And she would take her son with her, right? She would take her child with her. That was important for her. She wanted her son to be a student of knowledge. And of course, later on, Sheikh Abdullah would credit his mother with being sort of the foundation of what he would eventually become, of a student of knowledge. She impressed upon him the importance of seeking knowledge and learning. And so that became a very important foundation in his life. As we know, he memorized Quran at a very young age. And we'll talk perhaps in this session about, there was a period where he had to go off and work and wasn't able to seek knowledge in a traditional way. But his mother was the one who influenced him so much to study and to learn his religion and to focus on memorization of Quran and sitting in the lessons of the scholars. And so that foundation, that tarbiyah, that rearing, again, was the foundation. As I said a moment ago, Sheikh Abdullah credited her for being a tremendous influence on his life. Remember, he was an orphan. His father died very early on, his grandfather. And so he was reared by his mother, and of course by some of his uncles, which we'll talk about as well. I hope in this session. Um, but so it was his mother who really had the responsibility of really bringing him up and rearing him. Even for him going off to work and take care of himself, that was at the command or the advice of his mother, the reminder of his mother. And so there's no question that a mother's influence, and we know this as we look at uh, the great history of the scholars in general, that it's their parents who start them off and rear them upon the kitab and the sunnah and rear them upon knowledge. So there's no question that when one looks at the likes of Nusrah Bint Ali al-Qar'awiyyah, that they're able to see an example for different mothers, for our mothers in our communities and what have you, of the importance of encouraging our children to study and encouraging them to learn. Yani putting the mushaf in their hands when they're able to begin to read and study and learn the Quran, uh, making sure they learn the Arabic language. Again, even if they are not able to teach their child necessarily, as we see in this instance, she would take her son to the lessons and she would put him in the lessons of the mashayikh, the teachers and what have you, the scholars of the region at that time, because she found it very important. So a person gives emphasis on something that they find to be important in their lives. And so the mothers who see the importance of learning the Quran and learning the Sunnah, learning the Arabic language, learning the tafsir of the Quran, learning fiqh, they are the mothers who are going to put their children in the best situations possible. As opposed to, for example, the mother who claims that she wants her child to learn, but she puts the tablet in her child's hands, or the cartoons in her child's hands, or she puts the television in front of her child. And in some instances, we've even seen this in the masajid, where the mothers will put the child will put a cartoon in front of the child, or um, some kind of video game in front of the child, so as to almost babysit the child while they try to sit and learn, for example, while they try to sit and learn. But Nusra bint Ali, her her situation, as we see in her life, was to not only bring her child to the masjid so as to just have them there, and allow something else to distract the child or babysit the child. No, she brought her son to the masjid to learn the Quran, to learn the Sunnah, because that was something that was important to her. So my advice is that mothers can learn from her example, and they bring their children to the masajid or send them to the lessons of the mashaykh, or the lessons of the teachers in their area, so they can be reared upon knowledge, and that they don't allow their children to waste time with things like tablets and cartoons and televisions, but rather focus on striving that they learn the Quran and the Sunnah. For it's by the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that someone is raised to that degree. So it's hard for me to answer, could a mother necessarily rear another Abdullah al-Qar'awi? I mean, this is from the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives it to whomever he pleases. And so I can't answer that question. But what I can answer is that certainly you give your child the opportunity by Allah's permission to be someone who is reared upon knowledge, and someone who loves and honors knowledge and respects knowledge, and someone that perhaps will be a person who will practice that which they learn and perhaps teach others on whatever level that may be. And we'll talk about that again momentarily. But the point is that for a mother, yani, who is concerned about the affairs of her children and wanting her children to be good, righteous Muslims, then she should look at the example of the mother of Shaykh Abdullah al-Qar'awi, and try to have the same concern for her child and the same practice of her child, to making knowledge uppermost in the home, most important in the home.